Hi. Welcome to the sneak peek into episode 7 of the Guerrillapreneur podcast. For those of you who've been tuning in to previous podcasts, you know in episode 6 we introduced the growth capacity framework. And the growth capacity framework essentially encourage you to take a look at all the tasks that you perform as a startup on 2 dimensions. Do the task differentiate your business? And then on the other dimension, do the task help or improve daily operations? So when you're looking at the tasks that you perform as a startup along those 2 dimensions, it helps you decide whether or not you should focus on those as a core competency. And those would be tasks that do differentiate your business and are important to the daily delivery of your product or service, or whether or not you should look to invest through reduce the cost through outsourcing, and those would be tasks that don't differentiate your business and they don't play a big role in the daily delivery of your product or service. So those are diametrically opposed, your core competencies, and those that don't differentiate you, those things you got to do, but they don't play into the daily delivery of your product or service. Those are perfect to outsource. And then we also talked about those that differentiate you, but don't yet play a big role in the day-to-day processes. And those, we said, those are investments. That's where we want entrepreneurs to eventually spend all their time pushing those tasks that will eventually become the next growth engine of your business. And then finally, those tasks that are critical to the daily delivery but don't differentiate you, that's where you got to partner and try to lower that cost. Well, in episode 7, we wanted to continue in that theme. And we wanted to talk about outsourcing sales and marketing. Now, sales and marketing are critical. They help you get your product out to the customer. But if you're a new startup and you just if you invested all of your time and all of your energy into building a product, but you're not a sales expert, how do you plan to grow that business? Are you going to go out and spend $200,000, $300,000 on a single sales expert and then go out and tell that person to bring you back millions of dollars worth of sales? Well, our guest on the podcast for this week, Scott Sullivan, has gone through that entire cycle. He has over 30 years of experience in sales and marketing and has built a company to help entrepreneurs outsource sales and marketing. I myself have gone down that path and have made those mistakes of hiring a seasoned sales expert without having the money to provide the infrastructure as well as the support to make that salesperson successful. A better path would have been to outsource, at least initially, all sales and marketing to a group that could charge me back commensurate with what I could pay as the business started to grow. So, in having our conversation with Scott, we zeroed in on several different examples of companies that started out with a great product, no revenue, and wanted to try to grow that business. Scott mentioned a software company that was tied to the energy sector, a new startup where the business primary focus was to monitor energy saving devices. The CEO was a developer and a tech head, not necessarily a sales expert. He wore many hats, launched the company, and grew it to about $300,000 in sales. That deserves a huge pat on the back. But if your expertise is in building better software to track energy management devices, why are you taking your time and energy away from that to focus on sales? Well, this CEO made that right decision. He called Scott, and Scott and his team over at Synergenic got together with that CEO and developed a plan where for a small piece of equity and commission-based, that they would go out and build the sales funnel that would help grow that business. 2 years later, the company grew from $300,000 in sales to $15 million in sales. That's incredible growth. That's growth capacity. Now, what do I mean by that when I say growth capacity leading to explosive growth? Two things happen when you give an expert the opportunity to help grow your business and to outsource those tasks to that expert. With Scott and his team at Scott Sullivan and Associates, they will take their industry expertise, their knowledge, their infrastructure, because they have their own CRM, and they can build a completely integrated sales function tied to your business. Now, what does that give you? The capacity to then turn and take the savings and invest it in the product to continuously make it better than the competition while your outsourced sales team is driving the top line. And if those two are in unison, you're going to create an explosive growth business that will eventually outpace your competitors and put you in a position where you can take on the giants. Now, is there a downside? Sure. There's a downside to outsourcing your sales function. As Scott mentioned, the biggest downside to outsourcing is when the company and the outsourced company is not in sync. If your company is built to only handle $300,000 in revenue and they bring you $5 million, that's going to blow your company up. And you're going to produce so much negative word of mouth that trying to get back in the game is going to be very hard. So when you start down this path, you want to make sure that you work with a partner who is going to stay in lockstep with your business, tied to your operations, to make sure that what you're building can be sustained. Now, I've been in that situation as well. You go out, you gin up a lot of great orders, and then suddenly you're choking on the sales that you're trying to digest. Your business can't handle the increase, the rapid ramp up in demand. So it is important that as you think about these types of options, that you develop a plan and a strategy, and you tightly integrate with those partners who are helping you to grow your business on an outsourced manner. Now, if you're down this path, I know you're thinking, well, once I outsource sales and marketing, am I ever going to be able to bring it back in-house? Absolutely. You absolutely can. Now, you might want to check out episode 7 of Guerrillapreneur podcast when it comes out in another 2 weeks, and you'll hear several stories of how Scott and his team have helped companies like the software company that I mentioned earlier grow from $300,000 to $15 million. And at the appropriate point, they became the change agents to build infrastructure in-house. They began to put the salespeople in place, the sales systems in place, the training in place, so that that company could continue to grow without missing a beat. In essence, they changed all 4 tires without stopping the car while it was rolling, which is a tremendous credit to Scott and his team with the partners that they've worked with. So I would encourage you, take the time and look at this particular episode, because I'm really excited about it. I'm excited for entrepreneurs today to know that they have the option to not have to wear all the hats in their business, to not have to build all the expertise in-house, and to leverage partners like Scott's team in order to grow. Now, there are a lot of great companies. Synergetic is a great outsourced sales group. They specialize in the energy sector, in water and waste management, and other sectors that are connected to renewable energies. But there are other groups that focus in on software and tech, and that have specialized capabilities and deep knowledge in your industry. Take a good look at them. See if they're a good fit. But the most important thing is make sure that they're your partner, that their incentives are in line with the incentives of your company, and that you can achieve that kind of explosive growth that you're looking for by specializing in what you're great at. This is Mark Peterson, Guerrillapreneur Podcast. Check us out on iTunes, Podomatic, SoundCloud, or streaming at our website, Ceyero.com, Ceyero.com. You guys have a great day. We'll catch up with you when we recap and give you a sneak peek into episode